Typically when we're talking about celebrities being cancelled, it's because they did some heinous act that the public has deemed unacceptable. For some people on this list though, it won't be that extreme. I mean, some will most definitely be extreme examples, but others will just be cancelled by Netflix just for being too boring for their viewers. Welcome to Top 10 Beyond the Screen, I'm your host Johnny Rogers, and before we kick this video off, if you want to see more videos about what your favorite celebrities are up to lately, just tap that playlist in the corner of your screen. Also, if you don't want to miss another daily video from us, make sure you smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. Now, thanks for the delay, let's get right into today's list, the top 10 celebrities who were cancelled by Netflix. In at number 10, Joel McHale. Joel McHale garnered a decent sized fan base from starring in the show Community and hosting talk shows like The Soup, which was eventually transitioned into The Joel McHale Show. The show was a Netflix comedy web series that started in February of 2018 and featured Joel giving his sharp, absurdist opinion on pop culture and news from across the globe. Each episode would be developed in the week prior so that all of the content included could be topical and relevant. When it came to the cancellation of The Joel McHale Show, it had nothing to do with a controversy or issues working with Joel. Unfortunately, Netflix had ordered 6 additional episodes of the series, which were released simultaneously 2 months later, but just a month after that they had to cancel the show. When Joel came on SiriusXM with Jim Norton and Sam Roberts, he told them that Netflix pulled the plug because they didn't like his sweaters. He then laughed off that comment and said that Netflix had trained their audience to binge watch, and they tried that with his show, but it just didn't work. Ultimately, Netflix canceled the show due to low viewership. In at number 9, Peyton Kennedy. Peyton Kennedy was the star of the show on Netflix called Everything Sucks. This was a comedy drama web series created by Ben York-Jones and Michael Mohan that was meant to be a parody of teen culture in the mid-1990s. Ironically, it took place in the real-life town of Boring, Oregon, and unfortunately for the cast and crew, Netflix viewers found the show, well, boring. After just one season, Netflix announced that they would be canceling the show, and I'm only using Peyton's name as the placeholder for the show's cancellation, but luckily Netflix was able to fit her into a different show. Following the cancellation of this new Netflix show, Peyton went on to act in the show Grey's Anatomy as the character Betty Nelson. She only did 12 episodes with the show, but that's still 2 more than the show Everything Sucks. In at number 8, Kathy Bates. Kathy Bates was the star of a Netflix comedy series called Disjointed. It was all about Ruth Feldman, who spent decades advocating for legalized cannabis use. Upon California legalizing it, she starts her own dispensary and begins to navigate the highs and lows of that business. The show ran into some trouble when trying to stream in other countries where recreational marijuana and even medical marijuana is still illegal. The odd thing with Netflix canceling this show altogether was that at the root of its production was the prolific producer Chuck Lorre. Unfortunately, the show ran for 20 episodes before low viewership and bad ratings led to Netflix canceling it altogether. In at number 7, Naomi Watts. Gypsy was a psychological thriller and web series created by Lisa Rubin for Netflix and had Naomi Watts starring as Jean Holloway, a PhD in clinical psychologist based out of NYC. In the show, her character begins to overstep personal and professional boundaries as she begins to develop relationships with people close to her patients. The show had a 10-episode run on Netflix, but according to Rotten Tomatoes, it only received a 38% rating based on 40 reviews. The critics' consensus stated that Gypsy was a ludicrous plot that trudges along as it drags its talented cast with it. The show marked 2-time Oscar nominee Naomi Watts' first starring TV series role, but when it came to renew the show, Netflix ultimately passed on it. When it came down to it, Netflix had to pick between renewing the women's wrestling comedy show called Glow or picking Gypsy up again, and so they settled with continuing Glow and thus canceling Naomi Watts. In at number 6, Drew Barrymore. The show Santa Clarita Diet was one of the last things that Drew Barrymore had actually starred in. The show was a horror comedy web series created by Victor Fresco for Netflix. Fresco was the showrunner and executive producer alongside Barrymore. It was a single cam show that premiered in February of 2017 and generally received positive reviews. In the show, Drew's character undergoes a bizarre metamorphosis where she basically becomes a zombie that craves human flesh. Her husband and kids then basically have to help her deal with this as their mother constantly has to refrain herself from eating the neighbors. Cindy Holland, who is the head of original content at Netflix, said during a conference that when they invest into a show, they decide how much to invest based on the audience that shows up. If the audience isn't showing up, they begin to question if they should be investing more into it. In the case of Santa Clarita Diet, Holland felt that there was no viable reason to keep pumping more money into it, and thus it was cancelled. In at number 5, Brit Marling. The OA debuted in 2016, and it was really because of the hard work that Brit Marling put into it. She first rose to prominence after starring in several films that premiered at the Sundance Festival, but following that she wanted to cast herself into a show that she actually enjoyed. As a result of that desire, she wrote the series and pitched it to Netflix. With the creator of the show also taking on the lead role, it received mass praise from Netflix viewers. As the show continued into its second season though, the effects, like special effects if you will, began to get bigger and bigger, and the beauty of the first season was that it just seemed to be fairly low budget, but the second season proved just how much you can do if Netflix believes in your show. Unfortunately, the viewership though was just not there for the second season, and then on top of that, network executives had decided that the show was just too big of a creative swing to attract new viewers, which is another thing that they have to always be keeping on their mind. Netflix wants people that will binge watch their content, and they want to promote TV shows that will make someone want to subscribe to the platform. Unfortunately, Unfortunately, because Brit Marling lacked the star power and still cost them tons of money, the show was cut short. In at number 4, Hassan Minaj. The Patriot Act with Hassan Minaj was a comedy talk show that premiered in 2018 and ran until June 28, 2020. The show had won an Emmy, a Peabody Award, and 2 Webby Awards before Netflix canceled the series after 6 seasons. Unfortunately, Netflix realized that despite rave reviews from critics, all of their talk shows were just not doing well. Hence the reason Mchale and Mchale both had their shows canceled as well. In response to finding out the news, Hassan tweeted, "What a run, Patriot Act has come to an end. I got to work with the best writers, producers, researchers, and animators in the game. My 2 babies were born and grew up with the show. Thank you to Netflix and everyone who watched. Now it's time to return those screens to Best Buy." Despite Netflix believing that this was the right move, there were hundreds of comments saying that they were going to cancel their subscriptions, so who knows, maybe we will see the show coming back. Hashtag uncancel Patriot Act. In at number 3, Chris D'Elia. Chris D'Elia was cancelled because he had been accused of grooming and attempting to solicit nude photographs from underage girls. A woman named Simone tweeted out a screenshot of her alleged interactions with Chris, which began a thread of other women sharing their interactions with him as well. The stories were all pretty horrific considering that they were all allegedly underage at the time that Chris had sent these messages to them. However, in response to having his name dragged through the mud online, Chris told TMZ, "I know I have said and done things that might have offended people during my career, but I have never knowingly pursued any underage women at any point." Chris then goes on to say, "All of my relationships have been both legal and consensual, and I have never met or exchanged any appropriate photos with the people who have tweeted about me." Regardless, Netflix decided to scrap the plans that they had for Chris to be the star of a new prank show on the platform. In at number 2, Danny Masterson. Danny, who is best known for his role as Hyde on That 70s Show, was recently charged with 3 counts of rape. So far, there have been 3 victims that have stepped forward with separate incidents that occurred between 2001 and 2003. All the alleged crimes are believed to have taken place at his home in the Hollywood Hills. If convicted, he's looking at a sentence of 45 years to life in a state prison. For those of you who don't know, Danny is also involved with the Church of Scientology. After the charges were laid against him, Leah Remini took to Twitter with joy that the victims of Scientology were finally being heard. This is most definitely an insinuation that the church had previously covered up what Danny had been doing in order to protect their image. Although we cannot confirm these claims, it does seem like something they would do. Back in 2017 though, he was also fired from the Netflix show called The Ranch amid these allegations. Last but certainly not least, at our number 1 spot, Kevin Spacey. Kevin used to be a highly sought after actor and by far one of the most demanded performers of his generation. However, after a fellow actor named Anthony Rapp bravely came forward during the Me Too movement to accuse Spacey of forcing himself upon Rapp when he was only 14 years old. Following that, 15 other men came forward and accused Kevin of similar crimes, which led to his character being written off of the Netflix show House of Cards. Kevin then made the situation worse for himself by declaring that he was part of the LGBTQ community, for which they denied any association. Even if he was part of that community, it still didn't excuse his very inappropriate behavior with a minor, and Netflix wanted to distance themselves as far away as possible from Kevin Spacey. With that though, let's check out some of your comments from the video titled Top 10 Worst Celebrities of 2020. Sophia says, "You should do one on most unproblematic celebrities. I feel like that would be a nice change of pace." I honestly would love to do a list like that. The sad thing about the internet is that more people click on someone's downfall rather than praise for another celebrity. That being said, I definitely want to do more positive videos, and I love your idea for one about unproblematic celebrities. Also, would you guys want to know things like successful celebrity morning routines? And if so, just leave me a comment down below. We'll see what we can do. April says, "Hey Johnny, love the shirt. Did you know that place is supposedly haunted?" Oh yeah, the Comedy Store is most definitely haunted. That's why I got a shirt. Lucy says, "Love listening to your lists. I love how fast you talk, so easy to follow." Thank you so much, Lucy. I love this comment, and I'm happy that I'm becoming easier to follow. Mandy says, "Good video, love your enthusiasm, Johnny." Thanks, Mandy. I appreciate your comment, and I hope you have a great day. Amanda says, "I agree. What about some positive stuff about people in the world? With this pandemic, everyone is going crazy as it is." Totally agree, Amanda. I think it's time that we try and mix it up with some more positive content. The world could sure use some more positivity right now. And that has been the top 10 celebrities who were canceled by Netflix. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to our editors for all of their hard work. If you enjoyed this video, then please show us some love here by tapping that like and subscribe button. Plus, don't forget to leave us a comment down below with your thoughts on today's list. And for more videos like this one, all you gotta do is tap that playlist when it pops up. From top 10 beyond the screen, my name is Johnny Rogers, and until next time, stay classy. Is it Chuck Lorre?
I think it's Lori.
Lori, okay. Maybe I should do that again because I questioned myself right after. The odd thing with Netflix can't... Oh, I bit my lip. Unfortunately, the show ran for 20 episodes before low viewership and bad ratings led to the show Santa Clarita Diet. Her husband and kids then basically have to help her deal with this. Okay. I gotta figure out what that is. I'm always so burpy. The Patriot Act with in response to finding out the news, Hassan tweeted, "What a run, Patriot." Oh my god. Alright. The show House of Cards. Gotta say Netflix. God damn it, I can't stop burping.